Oh man, this is going to be exciting. I think Matt is going to give us a visual reference here.
It's my intruder bat. They'll be swinging
No,
right
no, no,
against the
no.
wall.
You picked it up 3 times. You got to keep that bat up the rest of the show.
Hello, 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 and welcome to a beautiful Wednesday, April 9th. We've gotten a lot of storms and rain here. We had to cancel last week due to the storms. A lot has happened since then. So, joining me today, as always, is my buddy, Justin McGovern, freshly back from a new adventure of college baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, just getting back from Myrtle Beach, where I got to, unfortunately, Wednesday night was probably the worst night of storms. I did not get to escape that, but at least I got to escape the rest of the storms over the weekend. It was, when you say it is a beautiful day, that's
It's
how it was
raining.
in Myrtle Beach, not here in Cincinnati, where the weather has been very ugly to say the least. I left to, the threat of tornadoes and came back to freeze warnings. So yeah, that's what we're
Welcome to
dealing with here in the
Ohio.
Midwest.
Um, Today we have a wonderful show. Um, we don't dabble in it often, mainly because we don't really have the people to watch it that often. But today, if I can find my breakdown, I can't find my breakdown. But basically, um, we're gonna go over MLB torpedo bats, good or bad. We're gonna talk a little about the Yankees. We're gonna talk a little bit about the Reds. We have some interesting stats to throw out if you're a stat person. Um, and a couple other things about MLB. And then, Justin, what if we talked a little bit about college baseball near the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I know some of you joining us are probably used to us being a football podcast. So, I will very much be the one who is asking the questions from a normal football watcher perspective who does not dabble in baseball often, but obviously, this is the off season and it's time to look around at some other sports here that are going on. And right now, baseball is the biggest thing happening.
I am a big baseball fan, and I'm so excited to be going over this. There's few topics that, since we came up with the topics, I think I've changed my mind on. If you're new to the show, we are Updog Sports Talk. We got started during COVID because we got tired of all of the kind of BS, if you will, with the major media outlets. Um, and we decided to just go ahead and start our own show talking about sports. Over the past 5 years, we have dedicated talking about every team, big or small, good or bad. And that's what we pride ourselves on, parity among sports teams, if you will. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Updog Sports Talk. Um,
Yeah.
so to jump right into it, the big storyline from last week, and this would have kind of stayed in the swing of things if we didn't have tornadoes running through the area. Um, the uh, New York Yankees had a consultant that they talked to in the offseason. And if I can get this to work,
Everything interesting in sports always seems to start with a consultant.
so if you can see the bat shape, you'll notice it doesn't necessarily look like a normal bat. That's because Justin, talk for a second. I have to go grab something. Just tell
All
me
right.
your thoughts on the torpedo bat, and I'll be right back.
Oh man, this is going to be exciting. I think Matt is going to give us a visual reference here, first for our show. Uh this was a very interesting topic that showed up here because it was like, okay, we're going to make these bats in a way that basically increases home runs. Matt, you've got your display there, so I'm going to go ahead and let you take over.
So this isn't a good bat. It's my intruder bat, but as you can see, it's fatter up here. This is what they call the barrel. As you can see in the picture, they moved the barrel down here. So basically, players were hitting the ball more here than here. And so they decided to move the wood in a way to make it a better bat for players. After I had spread some of my initial thoughts on this, Ellie De La Cruz, Reds player, had 11 total bases, went 4 for 5, 2 home runs, and it's been a little bit since that game. 4 RBIs, I think. And he raked with it. It seems like the conversation has died down. I know a lot of people were upset about it. The initial report said that nobody else would be able to use this design of bat because that was by a specific non-team consultant. And then it came out that Louisville Slugger had some of the other brands had some already made and sent off to the players. So it sounds like it's becoming a thing. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of it. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to baseball, so I don't like the pitch clock. And I would prefer this to steroids, but if this gets viewership back to baseball, I guess I'm for it. I like that they got rid of the shift, and now these bats, I guess, are helping them push the ball where they want to.
Is there truth to it that basically they can customize the bat in a way where it's helping tailor it towards how a player best hits?
Yeah, so the only difference between this bat and normal bats is the concentration of wood in a particular area. So normally that concentration of wood is at the tip, like close to the tip. They call that the barrel. So when you barrel it up, that's when you get that loud, like echoing crack, and the ball goes flying. So these bats, I guess a lot of players have been hitting it closer to this part of the bat.
Yeah.
And typically when you hit it here, it's not as hard. You can get some good lift out of it, get some good pop out of it, but it's kind of rare. You kind of end up flying out, or depending on if you hit it up here or down here, grounding out.
So like, let's say, one difference we could see is like, let's say one player has a swing where they tend to hit the ball higher on the bat, they'll make it bigger in that part of the bat. Where if another player tends to hit it lower on the bat, they'll put it, a little bit lower.
Yeah, I think there's a certain spot on the bat that they have to stop.
Okay.
That way it's handled to it's like this big of a section that they can push wood down. But this bat helps these hitters get a hold of that inside pitch. So there's a famous hitter, forget his name now. I forget who exactly did the video, but I recognized him when I watched the video. But basically, he has you stand right against a wall, and then you have to bring your hands like this. But I have a bunch of stuff here, so I can't swing.
we don't want you knocking down your headphones for this.
But basically, it gets the bat around so fast that you don't need space. Like they'll be swinging.
No,
right
no, no,
against the
no.
wall.
You picked it up 3 times. You got to keep that bat up the rest of the show.
But basically, it really helps players get a hold of that inside pitch. And a lot of, especially lefties, Jazz Chisholm, the picture that I had showed, he's a lefty, and he doesn't do great against left-handed pitching. So when you can move the barrel around, he can get better contact, and lefties love to throw inside on lefty hitters. So I think it's an evolution that will give some players the advantage. Like it'll up some batting averages and stuff, but I don't think it's a competitive advantage anymore. When I originally saw this, I was like, this is a competitive advantage because one team is allowed to use it. It's no longer the case. A lot of players throughout the league are using it now. So I don't see every player using this, like I said, because I mean, you get a lot of power hitters that love the ball right here.
Yeah.
And they love the ball on the outside of the plate. They love it. Like, remember Mark McGuire?
Yeah.
He would always like right before the pitcher would do his wind up. He like a lot of hitters would kind of do this like that. Basically, a hitter doing that will tell you right where they want the ball without knowing it. They don't do it on purpose. It's just okay. Like I'm gonna do this to get comfortable, get a good feel, and then they're telling the pitcher right where they want the ball without knowing it. So, yeah, I think kind of went on a tangent there, but I think it's going to be good. I'm excited to see what it does. Like I said, I'm a baseball traditionalist, so typically these things don't excite me as much as it did, but I'm all for getting more runs if it means that everybody can do it. Moving off of that and moving on to the next subject that Justin, I don't believe I actually sent this to you, but the other day, Rob Manfred said that there is a big disparity between big markets and small markets.
Well, yes.
Could have told you that a long time ago, bud. Rob Manclown, as a lot of people refer to him, just oblivious to a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I would say that the Dodgers have a competitive advantage with this payroll thing. I do think that they need to add a salary cap, and maybe even cap like how much a player, like a minimum a player can get based on like a certain contract. Because there's no reason Shohei Ohtani should be getting less than $2 million a year on his base salary and deferring what, like 600 something million to year 10. That shouldn't happen.
That's silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we see a lot of, already like, base, MLB is limited to what markets their teams are actually in. And so that's like what, like 30 markets because
Yep.
2 of them have 2 teams. And
no, it's 30 teams, so it's like 28 markets.
Oh, 28 markets, okay. And then you're
27
losing
because Chicago, New York, and LA have 2 teams.
Okay, so only 20. You're in only 27 markets, and then beyond that, you're also losing more markets because maybe they have a team, but their team has no shot of winning. Obviously, we see that with the Pittsburgh Pirates a lot, where they don't ever have the ability to pay players. what are some other ones that have been kind of struggling? Obviously we're starting to see it.
The
We've seen
Athletics,
it a bit in Cincinnati.
the no team athletic or no city athletics right now because they're Oakland, but they're playing in Sacramento, but they're moving to Las Vegas.
Oh, they're a bunch of nomads right now.
They can't pay anyone because nobody wants to play for them because they don't know if the team's going to be around. The Chicago White Sox, nobody wants to play for them because they just hit a historic losing season last year. But one thing about that is like revenue sharing would fix a lot of that. Put a minimum on what you can spend, put a maximum on what you can spend, and every team has to stay within those bounds. If they don't, they get fined or picks taken away or something because they're upsetting the competitive balance. I don't think MLB players should be getting $1 billion. That's just not.
That is a lot of money.
That's just not possible. It's not great,
MLB is some of like the wildest contracts too, because like what's his name? Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah. So Bobby Bonilla's Mets contract just ran out, but his Orioles contract just kicked in.
Yes, this guy has not played for such a long
25
time,
years,
and it's still getting paid.
Ken Griffey Jr. was still getting paid by the Reds until like last year or 2 years ago, but
Wow.
that's just that. I mean, that's what we're going to see in football with these big contracts too. It's like Patrick Mahomes is 300 million. You can only spread that out over 5 years, but maybe that's how they deter teams from having to pay these guys forever. You can only do it within 5 years. You do revenue sharing, you do salary cap. That fixes baseball's parity problem.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's something that we need to see because we're in an area, Cincinnati, where we're home to a historical franchise, but lately in this day and age, they have zero shot at winning the World Series. And I think that is kind of aggravating for a lot of people here. They're proud of the Reds, but you enter the season, it's like, well, they have no shot because they don't have the payroll that the Dodgers and Yankees have.
No.
So, kind of like jumping into that here. We know probably the Dodgers are going to win the World Series because they bought everybody. But how about what other teams are off to strong starts, Matt? What other teams should we be looking at here?
So this has changed, and I have to look at the updated standings because things have changed over time. But out of the opening weekend, the Dodgers, Padres, Cardinals, and Yankees were the only undefeated teams. This is pretty interesting because since then, the Yankees have lost 5 games. The Blue Jays lead the American League East.
Hey.
The Tigers spent a bunch of money this offseason and are in pretty good position with their team. I like the team that they have. The Tigers are in first place in the American League Central. And this is the surprise of the season. So before I get into this little hot number here, the Chicago White Sox, and I have to see if I can get I have it somewhere, but basically the Chicago White Sox had a historically bad season. Their first series was against the Angels, and the Angels ended up losing the first 2 games of that series, losing the whole series. 3 games, they won 1 game.
Wow, there
Now,
was certainly no Angels in the outfield for that one.
not that one, but now they're 7-3. They've only lost one game since that series, and they're in first place in the American League West. And they had like the worst pitching staff last season. One of the worst, I guess, if you want to count the Chicago White Sox as a baseball team. And they don't have a promising rotation this year. And all of a sudden, they're off to a hot start. The Phillies are off to a hot start. The Cubs are off to a hot start. And the Padres are off to a hot start. The Rockies stink. The Reds had a hilariously bad number. I went to opening day. It was fantastic. You could feel a different energy in the stadium. Now, I say that because I still believe that with Tito as their manager, the Reds can make the playoffs. I do think, though, that they need an outfield bat and to move around some of the relief guys. But the Reds they lost 32 straight series if they lost game one of that series. So if they lost game one, you could bet that they would lose the series.
Is this still ongoing?
I don't know how up to date that is. I haven't seen anything on it. I think they won the first game in San Francisco. Ironically, the team that they played opening day. But opening day was a lot of fun. Opening day in Cincinnati is like none other. No other team gets to play at home every single year. Now, opening day wasn't the first game of the season. Now, Justin.
Really now?
I have to explain this to you. It is a regular season series of 2 games. One game, each team gets to be the home team. They typically choose a team that has an international Japanese player that was a big name in the Japanese baseball league. They played 2 games like a week and a half before opening day. And it was electric. I love the Tokyo series. I do think that they should probably put that in the middle of the season. But I guess that's not why. I guess that's why I'm not running baseball. But the Tokyo series.
Did anyone other than baseball diehards know this is going on?
It's advertised like pretty heavily. But it's on at like 6:00 in the morning because it's in Tokyo. So when you wake up in the morning, you have baseball, and for 2 days, that was an amazing feeling. Got to catch a little bit of the middle innings, and then I got to catch close to the end, but not quite the end because I had to leave to go to work. And I thought it was great, even though it showcased the Dodgers. I thought it was it's good for baseball. It's their attempt to play or to get like a global brand. Because Japan has a baseball league, Cuba, Mexico, a lot of Latin American countries. Baseball is a global brand, but they're trying to make MLB be closer to NBA and popularity worldwide. So when they do the Tokyo series, it's like I said, 2 regular season games played at the beginning of the year. Typically, it's the teams that have like Shohei Ohtani, and then forget the other guy that was on the other team. It'll come to me. But they usually showcase a lot of the bigger Japanese players over there because they know that they're going to get a crowd, and they know that those guys already know about, like, those fans already know about these guys. Like I said, I think it should be in the middle of the season or a spring training game because NBA plays in China, but it's usually a preseason basketball. So I think they could do something like that and maybe play some of the Japanese teams. I think that would be pretty fun. But yeah, it's the Tokyo series. If you didn't catch it this year, next year, it's going to be a thing for a while. So catch it next year. Wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, watch baseball until you got to go to work. Fun times. But for Reds opening day, there was a whole parade made to the stadium. You could feel the difference. And then Ian Jabot came out. If you don't know who Ian Jabot is, he was pretty good a couple years ago. He's a bit of a bigger guy, like a huskier guy. He's been losing some weight. He struggled last year. He had two outings two outings of 2 innings of work in spring training and had like a 22 ERA. For those of you following along at home, that's bad. They put him in at closer. It was 3-2, and the Reds ended up losing 6-3.
Oh,
yeah. So another heartbreaking loss to begin the season. Another drought to begin the season. They're on the up and up. I don't think they're going to be bad for long. I mean, the Pirates usually fall off halfway through. The Cardinals haven't been really that good recently. They're holding their ground right now. But it's still the beginning of the season, like the worst.
Okay, but Matt, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that the Reds went, what was it, 34, 35 innings without scoring a single run?
Yeah. The offense got off to a bad start. Like I said, they need a outfield bat. I think Jock Peterson would be pretty good. I was hoping that the Reds would have gotten Jazz Chisholm at the trade deadline last year because he can play any position. It didn't happen, and now we're talking about torpedo bats in New York. But Jake Fraley's struggling. They are dealing with some injuries, so they're a little short staffed right now. They have a couple of AAA guys on the 40-man roster that they called up for such an occasion. But yeah, pitching staff is young, so that staff is going to be around a while. Hitting, Christian Encarnacion Strand is finally healthy, fully healthy, and he came back in a big way. He played through the first week and a half, but didn't do great. And then he shot a 451-foot missile to deep center field in Milwaukee. And as you can tell, big Reds fan, bobbleheads, memorabilia. I got
I'd say
I got a bunch more. This is just what fit on camera and what I can put over here. I have a bunch of pictures too to hang up, and jerseys. But I just love baseball. It's like an authentic sport. There are ways to rig it. But I'm a firm believer that Barry Bonds was a powerful threat at the plate, regardless of steroids. I believe Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, despite betting on baseball. I also am an old school traditionalist, so no, get rid of the pitch clock. Don't ever speak the word shift ever again. So, yeah. Moving on from that, we had a position player pitching to a relief pitcher. Now we haven't seen that.
now.
We haven't seen that in a few years because they added the DH rule to the NL, and Ryan Nelson got a RBI single off of Cubs position player. I can't see the name. So it was. We've already seen a bunch so far this season, and we're only like a week, 2 weeks in. We have women's professional baseball league set to launch in 2026 with 6 inaugural teams. Now, say what you will,
Ooh, big
say what
news.
you will, but I'm in support of this. I'm a girl dad. I want my daughter to know that there are a ton of sports that she could play and get to a professional level if that's the route she chooses. But I'm excited for this. It won't be softball. It sounds like it's going to be straight up baseball, and it's just women playing baseball. So I think that's like, I don't think baseball is just a man's game. I think football is a little harder to integrate women into, but I think baseball, anybody can play it, just like basketball, anybody can play it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. We will probably follow along with that as well when it comes about.
What markets are the 6 teams going to be in?
I didn't see that. I don't know if it was officially announced, but we do have something to talk about when it comes to MLB, and it is where you can watch them. If you have YouTube TV, you can't watch baseball. Maybe you can. You might be able to if you're the Yankees and get the Yes Network, but MLB.TV app is consistently down. Bally Sports, I think, got bought by FanDuel Sports Network, which is actually different than FanDuel TV. And you can't get FanDuel Sports Network hardly anywhere. You can get it on Amazon Prime, but it's like $100 a season or like $20 a month or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's problematic for sure.
If they want people to be able to watch baseball, and I'm going to say this about football too, I think that there needs to be one app per team per sport. And like NFL Sunday Ticket does a good job, but it's super expensive. If they can come down on the price, take games off of TV and put all the games on there except for whatever network you're in, I think that, like, if you live in New York and you grew up in LA and you want to watch the Rams, I think you should be able to pay like a smaller amount to watch that game. Same thing with baseball. I think MLB.TV app is crap, and I think they need to figure something else out. Come up with
this is a huge issue. I don't know why they're so behind on the times, but like accessibility is extremely important. You know, we saw hockey go downhill for a long period of time because nobody knew where to watch their games except for like a few select games here and there.
Yeah.
I've noticed ever since, you know, they got a better deal, they have more games on TV, you know, more people could watch more of their games. I've noticed hockey has gained some steam.
Yeah.
And, you know, now we're seeing baseball do the exact opposite where their games are less accessible and you're going to see the sport lose steam as a result of that.
Yeah. And like MLB has it where each team negotiates their own like rights for televising games. And I think that's stupid. I think MLB needs to step in and be like, yo, Amazon, yo, Apple, pick up all of our games. You can add in-game advertising or whatever to cut the cost down. I wouldn't mind paying $8-9 a month for like that add-on for Amazon or Apple or whoever. I wouldn't mind that. If they can get it down to 8 or 9, maybe maximum 10 a month, I'd be okay with that. But $20 a month? No, I'm not doing that. And that's
No.
only that's only like the teams that are on there. Not every team is on there. So MLB, do better on showing us games. We want to. There are people who still want to watch. I don't want to have to resort to radio, even though the Reds have probably one of the best radios, like ever. So yeah, MLB, you're terrible with this. I don't remember. Oh, that's something else I sent you. So here's some fun facts. This is from last week. So these stats aren't necessarily up to date, but they were relevant then. This is Ellie De La Cruz's third career game with 3+ extra base hits and at least one stolen base. That's the most such games by any player before turning 24 since 1900. It
Wow.
breaks a tie with Joe Morgan, Hall of Fame second baseman for the Reds, and Orlando Cepeda, Hall of Fame. So Ellie De La Cruz is on his way. Another interesting fact. The Dodgers are just the third defending World Series champion to go 6-0 or better to start the season, joining the 1985 Tigers, who started 6-0, and the 1933 Yankees, who started 7-0. The White Sox, remember them? Remember how bad they were?
Yep.
The White Sox starting rotation has not allowed an earned run through 23 innings on the mound this season. They are the fourth rotation since 1913 to go their first 4 games without giving up an earned run. That's just starting rotation. Their bullpen sucks. Carson Kelly became the third player in AL/NL history and the first since 1940 to walk twice and record a cycle in the same game.
Wow.
On Monday night, Jake Mangum went 4 for 4 with 2 stolen bases. He plays for the Rays, by the way. In his second MLB game. He's the first player since 1901 to record 4 hits, including an extra base hit, and multiple steals in a game within his first 2 career appearances.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So we're already seeing all these weird stats coming out. At one point, the Chicago White Sox were leading the American League Central. Do you want to guess what their record was at the time?
Let's take a guess here. Actually, I think I saw this 2-4.
Yeah, everybody in the division was 2-4, but for some reason, tiebreakers and stuff put them in first place. Basketball stuff. Yeah. So those were my notes. I had some somewhere else, but Justin, do you have any thoughts on baseball this year?
Are you talking about still on professional or
Professional.
Oh, okay. I have nothing else.
You have nothing else. Well, if that's the case, I just have to throw this out there. There's a Reds pitcher. His name is Nick Martinez. He caught a ball like this behind his back. So he threw the ball came back at him, and he went like, see my fingers over here? Caught it. Chair was in the way. But the first comment I saw was, Happy Gilmore did this no more than 10 minutes ago. And gave me a good laugh. So I opening day, a lot of fun. If you're ever able to make it to Cincinnati Reds opening day, definitely do it. if you have a day off and you don't mind somewhat cool weather most years, like come up to Cincinnati, even if you don't want to go to the game, the entire city shuts down. Streets get blocked off. There's a whole parade through the entire city. Um, the Hall of Fame is a fun place to go to. It's one of the bigger ones in all of Major League Baseball, outside of Cooperstown, of course. So that's always fun. Went to a second game, for like less than 4 days later. My daughter's first ever Reds game, so I was proud of that.
Very cool.
2 steps down. So we walked through the concourse. We were heading down to our stairs to go sit down. 2 steps down was a baseball waiting for us.
Wow.
Yeah, from
that is a story you don't get.
No. So I gave it to my daughter, and I was like, "You've been here 5 minutes, and you've already gotten the baseball. I've been coming here.
She's already gotten more than I have.
Same here, dude. I had season tickets and went like 20 plus games a year, and I'm in my 30s, so do the math on that. Never walked away with my own baseball. Still haven't, technically. But yeah, that was a fun experience. So MLB Talk, we might do it again. I can talk baseball for hours, but the newest addition to Updog Sports Talk is college baseball. I don't think we've uttered a single word about college baseball until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And we talk a little bit about it on Twitter, but we are based up north. A lot of northern states aren't super huge into baseball, and especially college baseball. Cincinnati is mostly into pro because of the Reds. And like just in general, I think it might be because of when the season starts. I don't know what it is, but college baseball is a predominantly Southern sport. And, I finally got to experience that this past week. I was in Myrtle Beach for a wedding, and when in Myrtle Beach, you got to check out the 2016 national champs, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They have a very cool ballpark because you get in there and the outside is lined with all the palm trees, and they have teal everywhere, which is just a great design for a ballpark. And Coastal Carolina has a really good team this year. They're definitely in contention to host a grouping in the playoffs. We'll see obviously how they finish the season, but they were just coming off a previous week where they took down a highly ranked Clemson team. So they've been playing good ball, and we got to see them play good ball that night. This pitcher of theirs, Jacob Morrison, was incredible all night. This kid is a unit of a human being. He is 6'8".
Hell yeah.
And he was paid in quarters all night long.
Was he a lefty or a righty?
He's a righty.
Okay.
The game entered the 9th inning, and he was still in the game, only gave up 2 hits. That is an incredible performance. Unfortunately, the first batter in the 9th inning got a home run off of him, and then they pulled him because they didn't want to take any chances. It was only 4-1 at that point, so they didn't want to take any more chances. But he obviously, last pitch didn't go the way he wanted, but he was incredible all night. And we definitely noticed, like a few rows down, there were some MLB scouts who were there to watch him. And I kid you not, literally there to watch him, because as soon as he was pulled, with again only 3 outs left to go, and they secure the win, immediately the moment he left the game, the scouts start packing up their stuff and left.
That's pretty cool to watch, though, to see the whole interaction of it.
Yeah, and especially like the crowd gave him an applause when he left and everything, and he it seemed to mean a lot to him. We were close enough to see his reaction. It was pretty cool. But yeah, he was incredible. We had a perfect night at the ballpark, um and yeah, it was pretty cool. So that was my first college baseball experience. I definitely want to go again. We actually had a pretty now, unfortunately, it didn't work for me time wise, seeing that yesterday I had my church group, and then today, we have the show. But our local we had a local pretty cool baseball event this week, yesterday and today, the Joe Nuxall Classic,
Oh,
which
nice.
was which was a great field of teams because it was UC, Xavier. UC and Xavier are both currently very much on that bubble of making the tournament or not. And then Wright State, who is seems to be pretty well above as the best team in the Horizon League. And then Miami, who is a top contender in the back. So like it was a pretty good field. And those games were going on at Prasco Park, which is like always, everything's free there. The going into the game is free. They're a Christian organization, so they do like free attendance. They do free food and everything, and it's a pretty cool thing that they do there. But yeah, so that was a local event that was pretty cool that was going on.
UC has some super dope unis too. They have the all black and they have the all red.
Yeah, it by the way, like, is this like one of the better seasons UC baseball's had in a while? I feel like it is.
Yeah, I haven't heard much of their baseball team in quite a while, and there's been, being a northern team, there's been a little bit of buzz around them.
Yeah, which again, it's not common. Like the Big Ten has been just completely irrelevant in baseball for a long time, and the only reason why the Big Ten is relevant right now is mostly because of all the Western teams they added in this ridiculous realignment they did. Like currently, the only teams projected to make the tournament right now are USC, Oregon, and UCLA. So like all of those newly added. Now Iowa is hanging right there as well. They're pretty decent. But the conferences that I really enjoy paying attention to, the Southland is looking very good. They might be able to squeeze in 2 bids this year. Our much beloved UTRGV Vaqueros are looking amazing. They're at one point their RPI was in the top 5.
Dang.
They kind of lost a little bit of that scene, but they're still playing really well. McNeese is right there in the tournament bubble. And then I know Southeastern, Lamar, and one more team whose name escapes me a moment. All are looking good from the Southland. The Sun Belt, obviously, Sun Belt baseball, which I got to experience this weekend. The Sun Belt is always loaded with good teams. Coastal Carolina is always up there. Southern Miss is always up there. Troy is also looking pretty good out there. Conference USA also has some really good squads. Dallas Baptist is only at this level in baseball, which is kind of funny. They're always up there.
They just fell out of the top 25.
Yes. They are actually kind of falling their way towards the bubble a little bit, so they kind of need to get it together a little bit. But Western Kentucky is probably the story out of Conference USA. Western Kentucky has not made the tournament since 2009. And Western Kentucky right now is looking amazing. They are very much in position to break that streak. The Big West always looks good as well. UC Irvine looks like they're the best team out there. The UCSB Gauchos are usually up there, but they kind of fell off a little bit recently. Cal State Fullerton is a historically great baseball program, but they're kind of having a down year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like seeing UC Irvine up there.
Yeah, I do too. I love seeing that. This is what I enjoy is like, there's a lot of different programs that are up here. And, we've seen different programs win it all. Like again, like 2016, we saw Coastal Carolina win it all. Those stories can happen in baseball, and that's what makes the sport really fun. The American has some good teams as well. South Florida, UTSA, they're both looking good. East Carolina and Charlotte are hanging right there in contention as well. And in the MAC, now the MAC is only their champion's going to get in, but currently on top right now are much beloved Bowling Green Falcons.
Yeah, we may have some news soon about Bowling Green, so stay tuned for that. But love to see Bowling Green up there. Fun fact, I went to go try out for the Bowling Green baseball team, and this was like 15 years ago. Their coach or their manager, I guess, was real political, so a lot of the players left and went to the almost knocked all my bobbleheads off. And all the players left to go to the club team. So the club team was number 1 in the nation of club sports for baseball. So
yeah,
fun fact.
The history of Bowling Green baseball is not great because of the stories like this. And then at one point, they tried to use COVID as an excuse to, finally disband the program, and they did for a little bit. And then donors rallied, brought it back. Then last year they were one of the stories of the sport when they went on that crazy. It was at least like a 15-game win streak or something like that. They went on a crazy long win streak in MAC play. Unfortunately, did not end up making it to the actual tournament, but they're in contention again this year. Maybe this could be the year.
Yeah. Got anything else about baseball?
No, I think that wraps it up.
Basketball just finished up. Florida beat Houston in actually a really good game. I had some house problems, so I didn't get to watch all of it, but I went back and watched the highlights, and what an ending to that game.
I had come back from Myrtle Beach that day. I was far too tired.
They have it
For
on
an
pretty late.
8:50 tip was just way too late for me when it came to
Why does college? I never understood why college is obsessed with Mondays for championships. Like
I don't either. And then
like I understand
always so late.
I understand that usually when they have a championship and it's televised, there's nothing going on that Monday. But like you also want to make sure that you can lift your thing up, and you're going to get a lot more viewership on like Sundays or like Saturdays,
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean the women's
like I know they did the Final Four on Saturday. So
yeah.
it created, but I mean you could do the Final Four on Friday night and have them play Sunday.
Right. That would make a lot more sense. I mean, that's actually what the women's tournament does.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't think they want them to step on each other's toes, but the women's tournament actually like is on times that seems to make more sense because they're on Friday night and then Sunday afternoon. Like that is such a great time for a game. Obviously, I don't know what viewership, I still think some of the numbers are made up, but I think that this year, obviously, I think women's tournament kind of hit the crossroads of, we need to, I think they need to see more competitive basketball. I think probably their viewership was likely hurt by, a 30-point championship game.
Yeah, but it seemed like the women's like college basketball season was more successful than the men's until the final game.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's just I think a lot more people are paying attention. The tournament just didn't, it didn't give us any real highlights. There was no spectacular upsets. There were, not really any crazy finishes. And I'm very curious to see where that goes. As it becomes more popular, more women work towards being better at the sport, maybe we'll start to see that competitive balance kind of show up. That's kind of the interesting part with that. Like, I think, they'll continue to gain steam and gain viewers if we see more competitive games.
Yeah. You'll probably hear more from us on the baseball front. So if you know someone who likes baseball, tell them about us. One last thing, NFL draft show is still scheduled as planned, but we may have a slight hiccup. We do have a chance to possibly be in attendance and possibly do our show live from Green Bay. Now we're coming up on it quick, so it's starting to look like we're just going to proceed as normal. But the fact that we got an invitation to the NFL draft was huge for us. So we we take that invitation with honors, and we will let everybody know what we end up doing, because that is our thing. The NFL draft is our show. That's what we're good at. So super excited to do that. But either way, it's either 4 hours with a bunch of loud people around us, or 4 hours on my couch. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Follow us at Updog Sports Talk on everything. Instagram, Threads, Facebook, X, TikTok. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube Music, Podbean. I think there's one more in there somewhere. And then obviously we're live 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Topic TBD. Next week, Justin, do we know our topic yet?
Yeah. You mentioned the NFL draft. We will be doing our final NFL mock drafts. These will be our final editions. Who will get the most picks correct? We'll find out.
And if you like us, even if you don't like us, tell someone else. Maybe they'll like us. We're trying to grow this channel. We're trying to do something with it. And so far, 2025 has been coming up, Updog Sports Talk. So let's keep that rolling. Feel free to reach out to us. X is where we have most of our interactions. So find yourself on X and need an account to follow, find us. All right.
Yeah.
So we will catch you guys next time. See you
Catch
later.
you on the flippity flip.
Good.
Nice.
Unfortunately, we didn't get like any